You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's shaking, guys? Today we're interviewing Ryan Stewart. Ryan is a marketing consultant and entrepreneur. He has over 10 years of experience helping companies get more exposure through digital channels. All right, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, so tell our listeners where you're calling in from today and also something interesting about yourself.
Sure. I'm in Miami, Florida. Shit, man. I don't know if there's anything overly interesting about myself. Business owner, been doing it for about 10 years. Sure, we'll unpack that as we talk. But yeah, that's about all I got off the top of my head.
Then no worries, man. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you do. What kind of business is it and what does it bring to the marketplace?
Sure. So I've been in the marketing space for about 10 years. Used to work big consulting, Deloitte, Accenture, etc. Eventually broke off and started my own consulting and agency, mainly doing SEO, digital marketing. Through that, marketing just opened a lot of doors for me, just in terms of, I realized if I could control the internet to my will, then I could probably make a lot of money and build some businesses. So I started an e-commerce store, had a bunch of lead generation stores, sites for like attorneys and for real estate. Ended up selling all those, selling the e-commerce store, selling the agency, all in before 2017. The company that bought my agency ended up becoming the CMO, did some things there before I left there as well. Now I own, I have a small agency, just a handful of employees here in Miami. We're small intentionally. I have a training platform called the Blueprint Training. It's specifically for agencies. It's where I spend most of my time now. And then my partner and I are also getting ready to take to market a piece of software. It runs on Google BigQuery, which is a little bit nerdy, but basically what it does is allows marketing teams to process massive data sets, and then we build custom reports off the back of that. So we're getting ready to take that. It's basically like a Zapier for BigQuery. If anyone's in the space, they know that BigQuery, you need some pretty advanced coding languages. We basically made it WYSIWYG to be able to drag and drop data into that platform. So that's what I'm doing now.
Awesome, man. So you're kind of, you're dabbling in a couple of things here. So you kind of converted from the working for the agency, learning the agency world, building your own, selling them, and then helping others build theirs.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Very cool. Great journey, man. So tell us a little bit about maybe what you're excited about within the industry right now of marketing.
And if I'm being completely honest, like I don't love marketing at all. It's always just I love business. It's what I'm passionate about. Marketing to me is just an engine and a tool. I'm not overly excited about anything, man. This is what I do for a living, and it's I don't know, man. It's not who I am. I feel kind of like an ass saying that, but it's just
that's fine.
What excites me about this industry is the fact that like I'm able to run a multi-million-dollar company from my second bedroom in my condo in Miami, and build really awesome teams of people who are able to build lives that they love to get compensated very well, and also again have the freedom to not be tied to a job, to not be tied to a location, and to do something and build something together that we all care about. But aside from that, man, marketing is just, it comes and goes, right? I mean, in 5 years, we're going to be looking back and be like, damn, remember when we used Instagram? That was fun. So I'm not really married to any of these things. They don't really excite me. I just look at them as engines to drive my business and to grow to where, I believe it should be.
No, absolutely. Like I can switch gears here a little bit because I think that you're more on the business side, which makes sense, obviously, from an industry. Your industry's marketing. It is the engine. It is, something that is a platform that you've mastered. But I want to kind of chat about your decision to stay lean, to stay with a small group now. I'm big on that, by the way, and I'm all about that. And I'm picking up what you're putting down on probably what you're going to tell our listeners here. But why did you decide to say, you know what, I want to stick with a small team, focus on that, and build it?
Because to be honest with you, I over the course of this 10-year experience and going through a lot, at one point we had upwards of 45 employees, two nice offices, all the bells and whistles. It's not who I am. Like, I'm not a people person. I love my team. I love watching them grow, but it's exhausting to me. It's just, I'm an introvert by nature, so going the route of the big team, the big offices, that wasn't my dream. That wasn't my vision. To me, that felt like more of an ego thing, an ego check that was actually hurting the company. I mean, dude, the amount of expenses that get buried on top of you that you have to dig yourself out of. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's the traditional agency model, but I feel like in the last couple of years, especially, a lot of companies don't care about that anymore. Like, a lot of companies would make a decision because you're local, because you have that team. Now companies just want to work with agencies that get shit done. And they understand that now too, because a lot of companies are leveraging remote talent. That talent doesn't centralize near a place. That talent is going to be where talent wants to be, especially the best talent, right? That's always the hardest thing about, as an agency, hiring people, because you realize that the most talented people are probably going to be doing their own thing, and you have to be able to work with them and work within their frameworks if you want them to be a part of what you're doing. So we choose to stay small because, especially on the agency side of things, like, I don't want to have more than 20 clients. We're just raising our rates, raising our retainers, again, keeping it small. And we're also very highly specialized and focused on what we do. We only do UX and we only do SEO. In a very specific part of that too, only B2B SEO. So, I run $50,000 to $100,000 worth of advertising a month for our companies, but you can't pay me enough money to do that for your company, right? You could come to me with $1 million check and I wouldn't do it, because it's going to detract the focus from what we're doing and what we do best. And we've really, 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 again, tripled down on what we want, what our vision is, not what other people's vision for what we think our company should be is, and what the traditional vision is. We make decisions based on the lives that we want to live. We don't see this as kind of a finite game. This is something that this is our lives. It's intertwined so deeply with our lives that I want to be able to work out every day in the middle of the day if I choose to, take my dog for a walk, not have to meet with clients. So we've really tripled down on that. And again, too, we also do that because of the margins. Like, I want to run a company, an agency that has 50% or more margins, which allows me to feed my team, pay them more, give them bonuses, extract what we need, but also fund our other companies. So this piece of software that we're building is expensive as shit, but we haven't taken a dollar from outside sources. And that's something that we're incredibly proud of, because we can take our time building it. We can go through the right process to get it right. And we don't mind doing that because we're spending our own money on it, So I look at it kind of like, as opposed to pushing that money into another investment, I'm pushing it into my own, something that I have much more control over. So that's why we stay small.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a very conscious decision.
And exactly. And I think that you said that because you said it purposely, that you're small. And I wanted to just get exactly what you said, and you hit it definitely on the nail, which I was definitely hoping to get to our listeners, is that, you think growth, you think, we get more office space, we get more cubicles, and it's almost like equivalent to keeping up with the Joneses in the business world, right? Like, you don't have to do that. And if you're out there right now and you have the 40, 50+% margins, like Ryan's talking about, like, it's just a no-brainer. Keep your life as simplicity rules. It really does. And if you're able to, walk the dog midday and go to the gym if you didn't make it in the morning, you're able to just bail out because you don't have nothing on the calendar that day. Like, that's pretty awesome. We're talking about business and life here. And this is like building the life that you want to live. There's strategy behind it.
Yeah.
There's absolute strategy behind it. And that's what I really want to make sure, that if you're not creating and reverse engineering that life, then you need to start.
And also, don't confuse that with me getting less stuff done. I'm actually 100 times more productive. That's what people don't understand too, is they're like, oh, you have a lifestyle business. Like, you just want to sit on the beach and smoke weed all day. It's like, I do, but dude, I'm also working. I'm working a lot, and I'm working when I want to work, which means I'm hyper focused on what I'm doing. And I've just gotten very good at delegating the tasks that I believe are not worth my time to do, as opposed to when you have that big office. And again, like, the traditional agency kind of success metric is headcount, right? Employee headcount. That's how, like, the agencies kind of beat their chest and be like, we have 200 people. It's like, okay, great. When it really should be driven by impact, when it really should be driven by what it is that you want from your business, not, again, just like you say, keeping with the Jones. Our society has a problem with doing things based on what other people think they should be doing, not what they think is right for themselves. And that's evidently true in business too, especially in the agency world, by doing a lot of things that don't drive the business, they drive ego, and you have to be able to separate those things.
We're going to dive into our guests' experiences in business and life after this quick message. Life Nation, are you struggling with growing your business and hitting goals? Or are you over the 9-to-5 grind, finally ready to take the dive into entrepreneurship? What are you waiting for? Go to michaelivas.com to set up a free, no obligation coaching call today. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com. I can help you. It may be the best call you've ever made.
Yeah, no, you really do. And sometimes it's hard, I think, after a while. You're in Miami. I was in Southern California. Now I'm in Southern California now as I record this, but I moved to Puerto Rico, sold everything
Nice.
for a reason, and not, of course, just the 4% flat tax rate was a very, very attractive reason. But outside of that, it was just a no-brainer for me to understand that, like, okay, what makes me happy? Let me do more of that. Right. And that's what I think. It's just to create the simplicity around people's lives that are listening, that are entrepreneurs, that are in the grind, are in the day to day. Believe me, I didn't plan on moving there. And I went there for 7 days and never left, assuming I was just going to talk to my tax attorney. And he's like, hey, if you stay, X, Y, and Z means X for the numbers. And I was like, I'm not leaving. And so, offices, employees now are working from home. Hey, employees, do me a favor, clean out the offices and get rid of everything. We just put in our 30-day notice. Like, there's a lot that has to go into it, but putting your back against the wall and making sure that you're doing what makes you happy is what this podcast is all about. And I love that message, Ryan. Why do you think one of my next questions for you is here, why do you think a lot of entrepreneurs out there, in your opinion, just fail and give up?
I think a lot of reasons. I think number one is the fact that, like, so I've been through this a couple of times now, and fortunately I've just gotten a lot smarter with my cash and understanding just how money works. And I think a lot of people just get in a situation where your family life, your personal life, your mortgage, whatever, that shit weighs heavy, man. And if you are in a position where you're continuously having to, just the stress of that too, coming from, your wife or your husband, whatever that is, it's backbreaking, and it takes a lot of mental fortitude to fight through that, but also, physical, like it's just hard, man. I think people give up because it's hard, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with people giving up. I think there's a right way to give up, and there's also times when you have to fight through things. But, like, I think for the most part, it's just too tough. And the alternative of either going to get work somewhere else or pivoting or doing whatever it's just an easier decision to make. So people do it. And it's difficult for me to sit up here and say, just as a blanket statement, whether you should give up or whether you should keep going, because I think it's all situational. But, I think at the end of the day, you also have to listen to exactly. And again, too, it's the older that I get, the more I realize it's not just about what I want to do. It's about what my family wants to do and what's best for them, So when I was 21 and I had my own place, I could eat a can of beans, but now I got a lot of expenses out here. It's not that easy, so I can't just like put my head down and spend $500,000 on a company that I think is great when there's other factors involved. So, I guess it just depends,
I agree. There's definitely a lot of factors in place in people's lives, when to throw in the towel, when not to. Sometimes you gotta just make your own decision, have your own gut check. And I know that's not easy for a lot of people, but if you're losing, you're consistent losing, then losing, I guess, revenues, realizing that it might be a rabbit hole, but you still, sounds hard to say, probably are learning a shit ton out of that while you're losing, and definitely taking those losses and turn those into wins in the next business, because most people that are entrepreneurial don't just stop, they just figure out how to do it in the next game.
For sure. And I think it's important too that you have people, you surround yourself with people who can give you the right inputs too, not just family and friends they don't want just what's best for you. They also want what's best for them, which is fine. You can't blame them for that. But, as I've grown and gotten deeper into this entrepreneurial world, like I think all of my friends now that I spend most of my time with are also entrepreneurs, just because that's what I gravitate to. And it's incredibly valuable to be able to get advice from someone. Actually, my best friend down here in Miami, when we were both starting our companies, this was like 8 years ago, we were in a co-working space with offices next to each other. My company did really well. He's kind of been up and down, really talented guy. And he just ended up leaving his position, starting a new company. He's been leaning on me heavily for advice, going through kind of like, the ideation and MP phase, because he's getting one piece of advice from his fiance, who obviously wants one thing from him, but he also understands that input is not everything that he needs. He needs other input too, from somebody who can take a look at it objectively from a business point of view and be like, hey, this is a fucking dud, pardon my French, or this is a winner.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely important. Who you're surrounding yourself with, because you're going to be, listening to podcasts like this, like others, like business people that have done it, that have seen it, that have failed, that have been in a bad situation, but also have kind of come out of it. I think that's huge. It really is. It's consistently learning. I want to ask from an agency standpoint, I have a lot of not only clients and friends, like you're saying, I surround myself with some entrepreneurs as well, quite a few, especially now in Puerto Rico. Um, people go from agency to agency. My question, it's like these guys say they're going to do everything and then they don't. And now I'm just wasting tons of money. They're targeting the wrong demographic. I don't know how we just lost $8,000 in 2 days. Like that happens. So, how do they pick the right one, in your opinion? If you were looking for an agency, knowing what you know now, how do you pick the right person to say help you with lead generation and focus on what you need to do to get done?
I don't know if I'm the right person to ask this because really? I would never hire an agency. I would always hire internally, always, for a lot of reasons. And this is coming from an agency. I'm an agency vet, right? And I tell this to clients all the time too. I actually tell them, like, I'm so open and honest with people that it takes them aback, but it also kind of brings them in because they know that it is what it is when they work with us. But in my opinion, like, if you can afford to pay $50,000 for an agency, you can also afford to pay someone to hire them. And like, I understand that you might not have the means to train them, but like it's just, you're never going to get an agency that cares about your business, man. And that little bit of extra goes so much of a difference because, when I'm working on my own companies, whereas when I'm working for clients, when I hit a problem with my own companies, I'm going to do whatever it takes to figure that out. And same thing with my employees for my companies because they care, they're bought in, they're invested, and problems are always going to arise. And if you're an agency, then sometimes you just kind of let it flow along, say it's out of scope, it's not really my problem, or that's not what we're getting paid to do, or you just cut your losses because in the agency game, it's a business and not everyone's going to win, So, I think hiring an agency is tough. We use a ton of contractors, a ton of vendors. When I'm hiring, so like I would never hire an agency unless we were doing probably like something that I could not do, like a massive creative undertaking, like building an app or something like that. Even that, I'm still trying to hire somebody. But, when I'm hiring and vetting contractors, I'm always looking for people that take that extra step. So you're not just sending me a proposal that's templated. You're actually taking the time to go through my website, tell me your opinion on what's wrong, and then tell me how you're going to solve that. Right. And that's something that we instill in our agency too, is that, just going through that pitch process and making sure that we're really pitching the right things, not just some blanket service. So those are the things I look for personally. But, at the end of the day, dude, agencies are running a business too. Like I said, I understand how the economics of an agency works, and I understand that I'm looking at it like an overall portfolio. Like, as long as we're winning in 80% or more, then we're good. But not everyone's going to win, man. We're working against algorithms that you can't do shit about. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, you're right. Out of all your successes and failures in your business and your entrepreneurship journey here, Ryan, what is the one piece of parting advice that you'd give to our listeners that are entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs?
Be careful who you partner with.
I
just got out of my second very, very painful and expensive breakup. It's like a divorce, man, especially when the stakes are higher, you're making more money. It's very, 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 very painful and very stressful. And again, the more I get into this, the more I realize how valuable not only my time is, but the impact and how I show up to that time. And if I'm stressed out because I'm with lawyers and bullshit and just petty stuff like a little tweet that pisses me off, it takes away 4 hours of my day that should be focused on my other company, right? So these are little things that sometimes are inevitable, like partnerships. I kind of like relationships, like they're not meant to last forever, So you have to be very, very careful with who you partner with, and always make sure that you're going with someone who complements you, that you're not doing the same thing. There should really be no overlap with your business partner, right? You guys have to both handle and manage separate parts of the business. My partner now, who I'm with the Blueprint, and he's basically my partner with everything now. He's in Austin. We've only met each other in person twice, but we work so well together, and we probably only talk like 3 or 4 times a week, but we're both working on the same thing because we both have the same working style. We're very organized. We get stuff done, and we're working on separate parts of the business. We're both making the company money and driving it forward, but like we don't necessarily need to interface unless we talk 3 times a week on the phone.
Yeah. No, man. I want to reiterate that because after having so many people, we're talking about hundreds now on the podcast at this point that I'm chatting, and others that just from a coaching and advisory level, man, that I've spoken to and also I've had to coach, that friends, family, and just people that from the partnership level, that is so common, Ryan, that people say partnerships. And then I also, partnerships that have gone wrong. Yes, you're absolutely right. You want to make sure you're dealing with, working with someone that is doing their skill set and you focus on your skill set. If it's the same skill set, that there's going to probably be a lot of people butting heads. And also, you mentioned something about litigation that I just want to just definitely, like, once you start going down that route, guys, it's not just, oh my God, I got to get a lawyer. And yes, it's expensive. And yes, it just sucks ass. It really does. But when it's all said and done, it's also taking up so much mental bandwidth that, I mean, you're not sleeping that well. It's just really, do your best to take, I mean, I'm no stranger to it. There's never a time where I probably don't have a few of them going on. Honestly, it's just the way it works. However, you get a little used to it, but you don't like it and you never like it. So your goal is to make sure you mitigate as possible risks that you possibly can, that you don't have to do that stuff. So I'm with you on that, Ryan. Tell people where they can find you. And I appreciate your time here, but tell people where they can find you online.
Yeah, so you can, my personal website is ryanwashere.com. That's what also my Twitter and Instagram handles are. That's where I'm the most active. YouTube, I'm very active there as well. I'm publishing about a video a week. You can just Ryan Stewart across the board. Agency is Webris.org if you guys are interested in managed SEO services. And of course, the Blueprint training, that's where I'm spending most of focusing my time. That's end-to-end platform training for SEO agencies and digital agencies as well.
Ryan, thanks so much for dropping some of the knowledge bombs you did with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.